Welcome to Still Plays Galaxy of Heroes. This is a Conquest video for Conquest 19 SM-33s. We're looking at Sector 2, breaking down the feat progress, how efficient we were able to be, which squads we were utilizing, the Datadisks choices, the sets that we're building, and my thought process behind them, and then looking at those boss nodes. Global feats are not a focus, just making progress incidentally as they overlap with other feats, but you can see we're making a whole lot of progress on Stagger during Sector 2, and then Bad Bat stayed mostly the same. Critical damage down made more meaningful progress, the rest of the feats getting largely ignored. But the Sector 2 feats being the focus, we got 3 out of 4. It's some quick progress on most of these. Stealth, Health Steal Up, and Dark Side clones in the squad. Those overlap a lot, particularly if you have Lord Vader. But otherwise, there are alternatives that are going to help you with all of those. I could have and probably should have been able to do the win 20 battles without any units. Definitely the next couple times this event appears, because I'll have either more stars on the clones, so they'll be more survivable, or Scorch will be a part of the team, which should make the squad function as intended. Because right now, Apo you can take out, but if they were all Dark Side clones, Apo would be surviving, and I was losing him pretty often. For this sector, because of all the overlap on feats, you can really just lean on a single squad and actually take care of this if you were a whale and you had all these characters at relics. Not an option for most of us, so we're going to have to spread out that stamina, and we can really handle it in 2 to 3 squads, but there's 4 or 5 that we should talk about. Now the first squad, of course, is a Lord Vader squad with the Dark Side clones. I have Vader, not everybody does. Unfortunately, we did not get Tarkin rework, so he wasn't an option to become a leader. Maybe we will for next week. Hopefully we get Scorch as well, because Scorch is going to make this a lot easier, because even under Lord Vader, with these Dark Side clones, without a full squad of Dark Side clones, you can lose like Apo, for instance. If we had Scorch, Apo would be surviving. It would make this a little bit easier to work on all the feats, because as stamina was getting lower, I would be losing clones. Now fortunately, we can lose clones and still make progress on these feats. Now what is nice about these squads is we have the clones functioning with the stealth mechanic. We have Lord Vader and the clones working on that Dark Side clones feat. Palpatine here is with Health Steal Up on Let the Hate Flow. And if these characters can survive, we are now touching on all 4 feats. But as stamina was getting lower, these characters were no longer surviving, so I needed to swap out and make other options, at which stage SWGOH becomes a fantastic leader for me. Now if you don't have Lord Vader, you would just start with SWGOH to carry the clones. You'll lose the clones most likely, but that's fine. You will still make progress on the feat. This is why you shouldn't be discouraged if you don't have these characters to develop. You just need to have a character who can carry these Dark Side clones to a win on the node. Now you'll be able to make a lot of progress with just those 2 squads, but another huge squad in this sector is a Star Killer squad, because this squad is also going to handle most of the feats, except for the Dark Side clones, of course. But we have 2 characters contributing towards Health Steal Up, Palpatine with Let the Hate Flow, and we are going to have Visas Mars with her Dark Healing, also with an AoE Health Steal Up. So 2 characters making very quick progress there. We can do 10 minimum a battle. And then Juhani, she's helping out in 2 places, but slowly. This is incremental, because she has abilities that are going to allow her to stealth, and she has an individual Health Steal Up. Mara Jade, though, she helps out with stealth in the sector, but she's also going to help out with globals, because Infiltrate and Disrupt has an AoE stagger, and an AoE stagger is pretty huge within the global feat progress. That's how you saw me make so much work there. And then Star Killer, just with that stat boost, this is going to have a bunch of survivability along with Visas's Revive. You should be able to get through the nodes with a Star Killer squad without losing anybody, and they're going to make much faster progress on that Health Steal Up. And really between those 2 squads, what you're going to find is you're going to be done with the Dark Side clones feat pretty quickly, and also done with Stealth and Health Steal Up very quickly, which is going to allow you to swap out and filter out other squads to knock out the rest of the sector. And this is an opportunity to work on light side unaligned force users, or you can use like a mercenary squad and you can work on stagger and critical damage down. I have Balin here as the lead for the survivability, Dash for the critical damage down. I have Sana, but she's actually not the best option. I'm using Sana because she's at relics. Your best option is Kira. She has the AoE stagger. Now that helps. This is only because these characters are working towards multiple global feats. Another great option within this sector is going to be Leia. She's going to help out with stealth. She's going to help out with stagger herself, but also that's why Sabine and Saw Gerrera are here. So within Sector 2, we have a lot of flexibility to tackle all of these feats. You can spread out that stamina to make sure that your characters recover for future sectors, and we can work on these globals. So this is a great place to be much more efficient than I was. I was doing a lot of testing, which impacted my ability to get all these done, but it's definitely doable, and I will be doing it in the future run-throughs this Conquest. Here's what the disc collection looks like at the end of Sector 2. I made really minimal changes as I was collecting these, swapping out really this gray power that was pretty useless. But we had great luck during Sector 1 where I accumulated the majority of these. But while I have good individual discs, I don't feel like I have a strong combo. They don't synergize particularly well. They're just all very solid discs on their own. I'd say the strongest combo that we have right now is Amplify Agony with Ruthless Debilitation, where Amplify Agony is going to be able to trigger that a little bit earlier into the battle, so you get those stacks of Armor Shred and the healing immunity. But what I do find myself missing this Conquest is like Fortified and Entrenched, because I am noticing that my characters don't feel as survivable as they have the past 2 Conquests, or 6 months, like it's been a long time with those sets. And then what I'm hoping to get is Blindside, because with Blindside, we could build something out of opportunistic support and assertive command in particular. Because Blindside throws up Expose when characters attack out of turn, which Assertive Command would be setting us up for. But a number of these I could see myself swapping out if we find stronger options. At our first fork, we have the Solid Intel Quickening and Quick Reflexes. The Quick Reflexes is interesting, but it's 3 dots, so it takes up a lot of space, and really that's only going to be good under specific teams like the Jedi. It's too niche, I try to avoid those. I want the Krons that are helping everything. Solid Intel is what I ended up grabbing. Quickening, though, is interesting and worth mentioning because we can combine Quickening with Solid Intel and start making like a turn meter train disc set. And the lower node, we just had junk. At the crossroads, we had a critical debuffs on up top, a green Vitality in the middle, and another green Amplify Agony on the bottom. And here we go, the Vitality. I wanted the survivability. I'd like to find some better survivability than Vitality, but I'm not sure if it exists yet. I haven't really seen anything stronger. But when you're using lower star characters, lower gear characters, particularly for us free-to-play players, survivability is a good thing to be grabbing. At the next fork, we have 2 of these already with Assertive Command and Opportunistic Support. And down below, we don't have anything particularly strong. Critical buffs, in this case, wouldn't be a terrible option, but I grabbed the Caustic Emissions because it's a single dot. And it's just going to be a little bit easier to find a place for it. And we haven't talked about it yet, but we actually have all the pieces we need for some of those old classic combos that we used to build, particularly the ones that made like Bosk a cheat code, because with Caustic Commands, Amplify Agony, and the Thermal Exhaust that we haven't mentioned yet, but we have been passing on, that's a very strong combo, particularly with a set of characters and feats like Darkside Clones or Vader, who offer a ton of dots that can be converted into fuel for Thermal Exhaust and the Caustic Emissions, which is really maybe the set that we should be building. Something I hadn't considered actually until we're saying it right now. So I think actually, if I come across like a green or a blue Thermal Exhaust in the future, I'm probably going to grab it. At the boss node, I grabbed the blue power. It's kind of the best available. And the upgrade on the green we already have. And at the start of Sector 3, there's nothing good. We already have the caustic emission, so I just grabbed the potency to grab it, but I've never used those. Sector 2 middle boss, 2 easy feats with win with a full squad of clones and a full squad of Empire units. Now the clones, your best bet is going to be the Bad Batch squad, the OG Bad Batch, because they stack with a global feat. You can't use the new Bad Batch because they're not all clones. But you may need to be careful here because my OG Bad Batch were too depleted after Sector 1 with their stamina that I had to return later to accomplish this feat. Around 70% though, that did feel like enough. With the bounty hunters, this is just easy stuff. Go after Django first, because that's going to reduce the mechanics towards the payout. I did get lucky though with Boba Fett's ability block not stopping Echo or Tech. Had the ability block landed, maybe this would have gone differently. Because we do need to use their specials to control the board. But once we get going, it's completely safe. You can see how the Armor Shred and Healing Immunity Datadisk is contributing. The Amplify Agony, all these abilities kind of crushing. With the Empire Squad, you have a number of options. Your best option for this sector, though, is going to be with the Dark Side clones, preferably under Lord Vader because of how it stacks with all of the other sector feats. Now, I did plug in Royal Guard for additional survivability. That would not be necessary, though, if we had Scorch, and we may have Scorch by next week if you want to wait for this feat, or Scorch will be available during the next couple iterations of this conquest, which will hopefully make this easier. Because what happens right now is because they're not all dark side clones, Apo can be taken out. But you could also use alternate squads like the Inquisitors, and after this footage, I'm going to play footage of me using the Imperial Troopers to beat the node, just to show that you have other options. It's the same approach here. Go after Django, control the field. You can see Amplify Agony and that other disc having a lot of synergy. We have the CX2 and Disguise Trooper under Stealth. And I am just managing these characters, but the dots are doing most of the damage. You could see how if we added Thermal Exhaust to this, it would be an even more powerful combo. And with Imperial Troopers, this is going to be your best option, but if you don't have Scout, you could easily plug in somebody else like Stark. And this is the same deal, just get that turn meter train going. Take out Django and the rest follows. Calling Dark Trooper to assist as much as possible, because he'll be the most effective at taking out the other characters. And I like to knock out the Bounty Hunter's Resolve first, but it doesn't really matter. Sector 2, we have a Barriss lead Starkiller squad with our feats of defeating an enemy with a Spectre attacker and an enemy with Rey Darkside. Spectre, your best option is of course Ahsoka, but you could just as easily do a General Syndulla lead. You just might need to wait for the stamina to refresh from Sector 1. You can see how depleted we are, but it's a non-issue with Ahsoka. The thing we need to be most careful about though is who our attackers are, and that is Padawan, Sabine, and Huyang. You could also throw in Fulcrum for an additional attacker to make this even easier. And in this scenario, I'm trying to weaken Barriss, because Barriss being on the field just adds some resilience to the side characters that I'd like to eliminate. See me being indecisive for a moment, but I go after Barriss. A lot of counters, throwing Wisdom over on Sabine because I want her to take some characters out, free her up so that she can start assisting. And I don't think it happened there, but it will happen when we take out Vader. Throw Fracture on Starkiller because I don't want him to reach Unleashed. And here with Sabine, we take out Vader and we get our feat achieved. For Darkside Rey, if you have her, you almost definitely have SLKR, and he will of course be the best lead. The big note here is don't bring in Sith Trooper, because he's a kill stealer. And you'll see my approach on this one is to just bring down the health pool with some AoE abilities to create more opportunities for Rey to finish characters off. So I'm going with the second special on SLKR, so there's more options. I'm doing it again. Most of the protection has been removed. Probably should have saved that turn swap from First Order Officer. And now I'm just trying to choose a target. Starkiller looks tempting, but we need to get to the turn. And right here, I believe it happens. Rey assisting, taking him out. And it happens again. And we've got it. Sector 3 will be up soon. Sector 1's already done. You can check that video out. But up in the corner, we are going to have my feat and squad overview, my preliminary thoughts prior to the start of Conquest for those players who are ahead of me to see how to tackle Sectors 3, 4, and 5. Otherwise, those videos will be up soon in detail. Down below, we will have the Datacron video. That way, as you guys are working on Datacrons, you have a refresher there for what my thoughts are on the best sets and which things you should be targeting. We will be back soon. Be excellent to each other, everybody. This is Still Plays Galaxy of Heroes.